Sup, Rotten? I got a new MacBook. Let's talk about it. So I was basically operating this channel on two Macs. One was my M1 Mac Studio, which I bought used a couple years ago. That was my primary computer and the one I did 95% of my work on. And over time, I realized that it's probably my favorite Mac that I've ever used ever. And for those of you curious, it still 100% holds up for the most part. My second computer was my M2 MacBook Pro, which I received as a gift. The problem was that, considering that it only had 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB of storage, it couldn't handle my workload in the way I wanted. It also didn't help that the 13-inch M2 MacBook Pro in particular had one less NAND chip in it than its M1 counterpart. So technically, it was actually worse. No, I'm not kidding. Look it up. That didn't cause as much uproar as I felt like it should have. I still don't know how Apple just got away with that. Anyway, I use my M2 MacBook Pro primarily for writing and light editing when I'm away from my desk, like when I'm in bed or on the go. The problem is, nowadays, I'm away from my desk way more often now. So naturally, my workflow has to adapt if I expect to get any real work done when I'm not at home. And bringing my Mac Studio isn't an option since I would still need other peripherals to use it properly. So naturally, upgrading my laptop to better specs was a must. Why not Windows, you may be wondering? You're joking, right? This time though, I had to make sure that I got at least a pro level chip with decent specs if I wanted any real difference in the way that I work. You see, I've never gotten a MacBook Pro that wasn't a base model. So the Pro in MacBook Pro never really felt pro to me. I wanted to change that. And with the trade-in of my 13-inch M2 MacBook Pro, which was officially the last MacBook Apple ever released with a touch bar, mind you, I have now upgraded to the 14-inch M5 Pro MacBook Pro. And I'm glad I took the opportunity when I did, because all of Apple's pricing shot up like 3 days after it arrived at my house. Like, phew. Bullet dodged. Crazy times we're living in right now. So the modern MacBook models have that crispy space black option, which I was fully intending to get until the last minute when I noticed something. I realized mostly everything I own is black. I got a real problem. I heard you can tell a New Yorker from a tourist because tourists almost never wear black while we do it all the time. And man, I never felt like such an accurate stereotype so bad in my life, which is saying a lot because I love chicken. So recently I've been making an active effort to get my tech in white or silver, like my Torbox Elite Plus and my iPhone 17 Pro, even though I didn't really have a choice there. And now my MacBook, getting it in silver. I won't lie though, that space black one was calling to me like the Green Goblin mask. However, I was able to trump that urge when I went to the nearby Apple store and saw them in person. The space black one is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but that thing is a fingerprint magnet. Fingerprints on my machine annoy me way more than they should, so I ultimately decided we weren't a good match. Maybe someday though. But I do know a good match. A quick word from the sponsor of this segment of the video. Setting up this new M5 Pro MacBook Pro has been a blast, but migrating all of my massive video libraries over from my older Mac reminded me of my absolute biggest nightmare as a creator: data loss. There's nothing worse than clearing out an SD card or formatting an external SSD only to realize you just wiped out all of your files and the crucial B-roll you need for your next upload. If you ever felt that instant drop in your stomach, you need to know about today's sponsor, Wondershare Recoverit. Recoverit is a powerhouse data recovery software that essentially gives you a visual time machine for your lost files. Whether you're dealing with a crashed hard drive or a corrupted memory card, Recoverit can bring your data back from the dead. It supports over 1,000 different file formats, so whether you're trying to rescue heavy raw video footage, audio tracks, or clean visual assets for your channel's branding, it has you covered. The interface is incredibly simple to navigate, which I love. You just need to select the drive you want to search and run a quick scan, then preview your recoverable files right on the screen before you commit to saving them. Protect your peace of mind and your hard work. You can check it out in the description below. Huge thanks to Wondershare for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now, let's get back to it. Naturally, I wanted to put a skin on it so I can protect it and give my machine way more aura. And I decided on a teardown skin from Dbrand, not sponsored. I'm a big fan of transparent tech, so I wanted that aesthetic on my new MacBook Pro, and quite frankly, I think it looks pretty neat. Complete with that is my magnetic SSD holder that I'm a huge fan of, especially since I think it works with my skin quite well. Whenever I'm away from my desk, I can just attach my SSD to the back magnetically and head out. In case you're curious, I'm still using the 4TB SSD I made from that one video, but I replaced the enclosure with this other cool one from ZIKE, not sponsored. It comes with a fan to keep my SSD from throttling and shows cool details like data transfer speeds. It also has Find My support port, which is great considering my SSD has tripled in value since I bought it, so I would like not to lose it. Thank you very much. So I have a 14-inch M5 Pro MacBook Pro with 48 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of storage. So, pretty big upgrade if you ask me. Being that I upgraded from a 13-inch M2 MacBook Pro, here are the things I immediately noticed changed with this new machine. First off, an extra inch. This new model feels a little heavier and more premium. Also more rectangular, with the rounded corners more subtle, which I like. The blacked out keyboard, which I say looks even better on the silver model. Oh yeah, and a physical row of function keys. Now, say what you want about the touch bar, but I love that thing, and I'm sad to see it go. Also, a great and probably unintentional feature, whenever a video ad played on a site, you can literally just drag the playhead on the touch bar with your finger to skip the entire thing, even the unskippable ones. So yeah, I bet a lot of you are changing your feelings on the touch bar in real time now, huh? And the notch, which I can't really tell is an upgrade or not. I'll probably have a more definitive opinion on it once I live with this thing some more, but considering I like to keep my menu bar pretty clean anyway, it hasn't really bothered me. Battery modes were by far the biggest shock to me, since I didn't have access to this feature with my old MacBook. Very cool. And lastly, the performance in literally every way. But that part is pretty obvious. Now, I chose this specific configuration, being, you know, the 14-inch and the M5 Pro chip, because I feel as though it made the most sense for my use case for the most part. Though I would have really liked the second media engine you get from the Mac chip when editing, it is a bit overkill. And also, I just didn't have that kind of money to get a 16-inch Mac chip anyway. So, the Pro chip it is. Naturally, my new MacBook Pro became my primary machine. So it offered the best of both worlds. A powerhouse like my Mac Studio, yet extremely lightweight and portable like my old MacBook Pro. Also, my workflow can now be way more streamlined, as I don't have to worry about transferring things from one machine to the other and potentially missing crucial files I need to work with when I'm away from home, which happened way more than it should have. But since my entire desk was powered by my Mac Studio, some things needed to change if I wanted my MacBook Pro to properly take the throne. But how can I get my MacBook Pro to support multiple monitors, drawing tablets, SSDs, a Stream Deck, TorBox speakers, a capture card, dongles, etc., etc.? That's where Thunderbolt docks come in. I was originally sporting a CalDigit TS3 with my Mac Studio, which worked fine, but it bothered me that I never got to utilize the full extent of my Mac's Thunderbolt 4 capabilities. So I upgraded to the Ugreen TS4 dock, and I gotta say, I kinda hate this thing. I know Ugreen has worked with me before, but I refuse to beat around the bush here. I encountered so many little hiccups with this product, with a main one being that the display port refused to work unless I restarted the dock every single time. It was something I thought I would just get used to eventually, but I didn't. Nothing peeves me more than disrupting the flow of my work, and that thing was triggering me every morning, and apparently that's a pretty common issue with it as well. So overall, thumbs down. My TS3's indicator light stopped turning on, but at least all of the ports still worked properly. Now that I have a Mac that supports Thunderbolt 5, I wanted something that best utilizes that power when I'm at my desk. I was looking at the Anker docking station when something even better came across my eye. The Ivanki Fusion Dock Ultra, not sponsored. It supports up to 4 displays, 10 gigabit Ethernet, and 26 ports? Sign me up. Thankfully, I worked with Ivanki in the past, and they just sent me one, which I'm extremely thankful for. This is not a sponsored post, so believe me when I say this. This dock is hands down the best Thunderbolt dock I have ever used, full stop. It is the final boss endgame of Thunderbolt docks. I absolutely love it and use it to power everything on my desk, including my 3 monitors, with no issues so far. I plan to make a video deep diving into it at a later date, but for now, just know that I love this thing. And considering that when I want to use my MacBook portably, I can just detach the very cool magnetic dual Thunderbolt ports and go about my merry way. It's a chef's kiss. And in case some of you are curious about what I'm using my Mac Studio for, at the moment it primarily powers my 24-inch Wacom Cintiq Pro drawing tablet, which I use to draw, animate, etc. So for the time being, it's my drawing machine now. Working on this thing is a breeze. It feels absolutely unfair to compare it to my previous MacBook, considering it has 6 times the RAM, 4 times the storage, and over double the cores and performance, but but those are the facts. It handles my Final Cut Pro timelines much better than my Mac Studio does, since my content is highly stylized and I use quite a few effects and plugins. It will stutter a bit, but my timelines got too much and I have yet to run into that issue with my M5 Pro. All the other apps I used worked fine on my Mac Studio, so no reports there. Even with my M2 MacBook Pro, they worked fine as long as I didn't have too many things open at once. I do want to tap into the world of LLMs now that I have a chip that can handle it once I have more free time, so I'll probably make a video about that at some point if you guys want to see it. Now with gaming, I admit I don't really play games on my Mac, and when I do, it's on a browser. I'm a big compartmentalizer, and considering I own all these gaming consoles that keep going up in value with every passing day, it feels like, I'm gonna stick to gaming primarily on those. I am open to a game I can dedicate to my Mac though, since I have the power for it, so let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions. Anyways, I think that's all the yapping I have for now. I'm very excited to make content on such a capable machine, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the surplus of content as of late. Get subscribed if you want to see more of me, and check out my Patreon to support this one-man team as well. Rotten out.